Ingleside Realty, the Sam Smith property.
Yeah.
Is that, I know, wasn't there some issue about whether to put down a $2,500 deposit on that?
Yeah, it was just a small point. $2,500, just a deposit on the buy. So you have to do something.
Yeah.
And then,
So when we end up buying it, will you have to buy that property in the fairly near future? Or
well, I think once we decide finally this is it, you'd probably want to go and buy it and then lock it in completely. Because we're going to be investing some time and money in ensuring that we have all our permits in place. There's an Act 250 approval affecting all of the Ingleside property, so we're going to have to hive off our piece of it and get the local planning and zoning, which should not be an issue, but you never know with these boys. They're all independent.
Yeah. So those are two big issues in front of you. But
two main ones, right.
Tim, anything like that? Of course, the city's been busy on a number of fronts. Anything like that for the city at this point, or
not specific to city facilities, but the project on the corner of Congress and Main.
Comes to mind. Where does that stand? Of course, and part of that, of course, the police moving over to the current CCV building on South Main Street. Where does that stand?
Initially, the conversations have all been focused on firming up the tenants for the building.
Yeah.
They're looking at a two-phase project. If you're familiar, the Maiden Lane housing is something that probably wouldn't even start till spring of 2019.
Across the housing right across from the library.
Exactly. That probably wouldn't even start until the spring of 2019 with the focus on that commercial building on the corner for the fall of this year. So discussions are going on. We have a meeting this coming Thursday. We haven't had a lot of discussions to date about the relocation of the police department, but that's something that's definitely on the table.
But nothing that's likely to happen this calendar year? Would you not expect to see that happening until maybe next year sometime?
Yeah, I mean, by the time the building's built and you got everyone's trading places.
No way that's happening this year.
No way until.
No way that police would be moving over to the CCV building.
No, because CCV needs a location to move to.
Right.
So there'd probably be groundbreaking on that project in the fall. And probably about a 1 year, and maybe not that long, maybe a early summer construction period.
But that project looks pretty solid. Every reason to expect that to move along.
Yeah. We haven't had any current updates on the police end of it, but I know that Dominic has had many discussions with CCV in the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's moving along well.
And which brings to mind the old Fonda Solo site, which have been getting some talk about the possible site for, police department or whatever. Anything brewing with that site at this point?
No, I'm still trying to figure out the cleanup.
Yeah.
Financing the cleanup. Currently, I think if I remember right, the last total was potentially $1.6 million to get it cleaned up.
Oh, is that right? That's the first time I've heard that price tag, I think.
It's been dropping as they reevaluate the disposal and whatnot, but I think the 1.6 was the last total I had heard.
And that's money that would, if you do that, that's local money. Any outside money? Is there some grant money for that?
EPA has funding for that. There's loan and grant programs as well.
Yeah.
But they don't add up to the level that we need it to. So my guess, without having a lot of discussion on this, there'd probably be some local money that would need to go in to finalize that cleanup.
Yeah. Wastewater issue, I'm sure you folks have breaking news for us tonight on that. Finally been resolved, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We signed the contract, we're good to go, right?
Anyway, again,
wishful thinking.
Asked about that issue every show. Again, back in court, was there a recent court hearing, in fact, on that, Bill?
There was a status hearing and some submissions on both sides, and I guess now the judge has to reread everything and see if there's anything more to come. I don't know.
But at this point, certainly last year, some of the town folks were talking to City Manager Dominic Cloud. Those talks aren't happening at this point? Are there any kind of informal talks? Nothing?
No, nothing at the moment.
Nothing. Tim, anything to add or subtract from that?
No. They had the status hearing. That's I say we being the city council, myself and Dominic, have not been focused on that.
Yeah.
I think we've made it clear to the town that we're willing to talk anytime.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in the works as of yet. Yeah, but you do talk water, wastewater. I mean, the thing that city's moving forward to change the subject a little bit is stormwater.
Yeah.
There's a stormwater ordinance.
Issue.
Yeah,
the MS4 issue there.
Yeah. So there's a stormwater issue ordinance that was presented at the last council meeting and moving forward. So there's going to be a stormwater utility, basically, is what it will amount to in the city, and to help address some of the stormwater issues.
Is the city and town together on those talks, or is that pretty separate?
We have some overlaps, but not too much. I think we're co-applicants on a few grants.
Yeah.
And
few projects.
yeah, we have a near term. We have a list of 5 or 6 projects we're focusing on and funding, and these are relatively small compared to the big stuff that's going to come down the road later.
Yeah. Bill, the St. Albans, the dock, nice to see the St. Albans dock re-emerging after being underwater for a month or two. Of course, the marina, I'm not seeing any boats here. It looks like all their docks are in. Are they about ready to accept boats? Do you know?
I don't know specifically, but I'm sure it's going to be very, very soon.
Yeah, but as far as that's moving along. I mean, obviously the docks are in, so they should be all set.
They're getting ready to go. I don't know whether the fuel in or the pump out in or whatnot, but they're not going to waste much time on that.
Right. And speaking of the dock, I know you did some engineering. Any work coming up at some point on the dock, or did you figure out what you'd like to do with the dock?
Well, we have to decide whether we want to raise it, 1 foot, 1.5 feet, or something like that. And once we come to that decision, figure out how to fund it. That's the low cost approach. We have to do some repairs on the surface and so on,
but raising it looks like that's what you're kind of planning on at this point?
Ideally, I'd want to get up to about 102 or 103 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
Because that gets very, very, very costly.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how often does a lake get up over 101?
Not often. In fact,
Rarely.
This year was probably kind of a typical spring with got up to 100 feet, just right up to flood stage. I think just barely over 100 feet. But of course, the record was 2011, 103 point
103
something.
and change, right? Yeah.
Which was pretty wild. Yeah.
We don't anticipate
but
that again.
that's unusual. It's pretty unusual to get over 101, I think. Yeah. So that's the hope, to at least raise it up.
Raise it, make it more usable, and we would not put town docks or any town boat access there at all.
Yeah.
It's more to more fishing and people just to use it. And who knows, maybe you go back to the old days where you get some of these small tour boats coming in there, which would be very nice.
That'd be great. Newport had I did it a couple summers, had a great excursion boat. Unfortunately, that's gone under. There were some issues here, so I guess that's not happening this summer.
That one was there when I was in Newport. That was there.
Oh, is that right?
So if it just went under, I bet you it lasted 20 years.
No, I think we're talking different boat. 'Cause when you were there was a boat. Then I think there was quite a lapse for a while.
Oh, there was.
It came back about 5 years ago. Neat boat, it would go out to the international border, of course, clearly marked. I'm kidding, across Lake Memphremagog, but. Yeah, so I think this last one was about maybe 3 years or so, but there were some issues not happening this summer. Yeah. Newport, as I said, did a really nice job on their waterfront there.
Yeah, they did.
Very, very nice job with a nice lake there. Bill, it sounds like the town select board spending some time on the personnel policy and the harassment issue getting some attention. In fact, I've got a messenger headline from, I guess, last week. Board moves public discussion to email. Town violates open meeting law. Accurate headline in the issue was after a meeting, I guess there was some email correspondence.
Yeah, there's some email correspondence, and no decisions were taken, so we weren't certainly not violating public.
So you don't buy a violation?
No, not at all.
I guess the reference in the story, though, was if a majority, a quorum of select board members are engaged in maybe kind of any kind of conversation, it's...
Yeah, if you're exchanging, it's alleged that if you exchange or send emails among the 5 members of the select board, or 3 or more, that you therefore are violating the public meeting law if you don't have it in the public domain.
Yeah.
Well, in the last 2 days, I've gotten several communications from different members of the select board to all members of the select board.
Yeah.
And they're all just informational stuff back and forth, asking questions and whatnot. Nothing, just no decisions being made. So I think some people try to take this violation of public meeting law just too far, just to make an issue of something.
Aside from that, it sounded like there was yourself and Mr. Al Vochel, select board member, definitely were seeing things differently. It sounded like there was some fairly, harsh, I don't know, harsh might be a little strong, but some pointed comments back and forth, especially between you and Al.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, Al's obviously not with us tonight. Again, love to hear from anybody out there, but just whether, I mean, he made the comment during a meeting that he said he was aware that there had been some, inappropriate behavior, even fighting going on or something between town employees.
That's correct.
Did you, I know you looked into that. Did you confirm or not confirm that?
No, that was the whole point of those emails.
Right.
Having made the allegations,
yeah.
Please provide
Substantiate
proof.
it is
Substantiate,
what you,
exactly.
And did that not happen?
That has not happened yet, and it will probably be the topic of our next select board meeting.
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
And again, as you're working on a personnel or maybe making changes to a personnel.
we've
policy.
changed the personnel policy and incorporated an ethics policy in that, so that's been done.
Okay. But you're not aware of his charges, whatever? You haven't seen that substantiated?
I have seen none whatsoever. So that's my point. If you're going to say something, be prepared to substantiate.
Interesting. At this point, are you pretty comfortable with the policy as it is? Or
I am, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. You running into anything like that in the city? Just in terms of policy, have you got, personnel policy?
No, I might have shared this last time that, and Bill makes a great point. It's tough to have general conversations with the council without sort of notifying the general public. But we are focused on here in the next couple of months having a goals and strategy session where we'll focus on not so much personnel, but we'll open it up to the full council to address concerns that they think that they might have as concerns. So we'll have those conversations and try to start moving some topics forward. I don't think we have any personnel handbook issues, but there's, the one that we'll be talking about is just, where do we want to go with recreation? Where do we want to go with police department? They're just general goals and strategies that a regular meeting just does not allow that time for.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be focused on bringing people together for half a day or day and start having those conversations.
Bill, I guess maybe a somewhat related issue that came up, I guess, at a select board meeting or meetings was whether one person, I guess presumably the chair, should be speaking for the board with other members. Did that come up with other members?
Well, I think,
shouldn't be speaking to the media or whatever? Or?
Yeah, I think the board accepts and supports the concept that there are only two people who can speak on behalf of the town. Either the town manager or the chairman of the select board, whoever that happens to be. And any town positions that will come through them. Of course, this is a free society and anybody can say anything they want.
Yeah.
And you can't stifle free speech.
Yeah.
However, in our policy, we've had it in the past, and we particularly reinforce it this time, there is a section that says there's an expectation that anybody who is elected to or appointed to a committee or even an employee of the town will have access to confidential information, and it's an obligation of theirs to keep it confidential. And so executive sessions, decisions would be in the public, but discussion should be kept confidential. Any personnel review issues should be kept confidential and so on. So these are reasonable things. So that's clearly stated in our policy.
But are you saying, again, about any issue? I happen to be a media person, I guess, obviously here. But would you be happier if, obviously there are plenty of issues that come up all the time. So you're saying that you would rather not have, anyone besides the chairman not coming if a reporter calls up Al or Brendan, whoever, and just asks their opinion on something? Are you saying, you'd rather not have that person give an opinion?
I think they can certainly give their opinion.
Yeah.
However, it's their obligation to support whatever select board decision was taken. And I have the obligation to, whether or not I voted for something. The select board has made a decision and voted on something, and that's the official position.
Right.
I may not agree with it, but my own style is not to go and start tearing it down.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when I'm reading interviews, sometimes like a member of a select board or whatever will say, just, I'm just giving you my opinion now, I'm not giving you the board's opinion. So I guess you'd be happier if someone was going to talk.
That's fine with me. I've said that publicly at the last time this came up when we had the discussion about this during the personnel policy. You can't stifle someone.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, they have an obligation to keep things confidential. But what can you do if they don't? All you can do is publicly censure. We haven't done that, to my knowledge, ever.
Yeah. Tim, any of these just come up in the city at all? Have you had any of this kind of the same issue or not?
No, I think conversations that I've had with council members and even Liz before I took over is that the council for the most part, to Bill's point, whether you agree or disagree with the decision, it's a unified front. I'm not sure if there's been those hot topics. None come to mind for me right now.
Yeah.
But when we do have the discussions, and if it's a 5-1 vote or 6 or whatever it is, you live with it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, you're the mayor, obviously. Are you comfortable with councilors just, giving their opinion on whatever issues come up? Or?
I am, yeah. Yep.
But it sounds like that hasn't been
an issue. No.
Hasn't been an issue in the city. Interesting.
One, I think you asked me earlier, Richard, what some of the topics are on the city level.
Yeah.
The one that I've asked Dominic to put on the agenda is we have received an excessive number of complaints about noise. We've all heard the loud motorcycles. There's diesel trucks that make a lot of noise, both downtown and in neighborhoods. You have Enosburg is going through the same thing.
About to mention that it's Enosburg Falls definitely an issue before the village right now.
And I'm not sure what the solutions are, but Dominic was going to take some initiative and see what some other communities might be doing.
Sure. But you're getting more complaints about that these days?
Some focus on the downtown and some focus in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's it's cars and trucks that I'm not so sure why someone wants to make that kind of racket, but there's enough of them out there that they're causing a problem. So,
well, just speaking personally, I guess it's just an aging thing for me. The older I get, nothing drives me crazier than just noises. Noises just seem to bother me more, but that's maybe just an aging thing.
And I think we're talking more machine and cars.
Some of these trucks downshifting or you get a tremendous noise.
We don't hear we don't hear the barking dog issues. It's more of a actual consideration issue on revving your motors and maybe might be isolating one, but Harley Davidsons and that type of thing, just the noise level. And the city's made the effort to have the bump outs and have the outside eating, and the last thing you want to do is have to hold your conversation for 20 seconds while a loud truck or motorcycle goes by. So,
Bill, you getting that too? Does that ring a bell at all?
Every
Not
once
so
in
much?
a while.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Of course, you don't have the downtown, obviously.
The current thing is, it's again down in the bay. We have some people. They think they're in. Driving Indy 500 cars, tires screeching and burning rubber and that kind of thing. And these are police issues. All we can do is call the police. Say, look, you try to keep an eye on this a little more.
Well, driving down Georgia Shore Road, which I do about every other day, is a pretty impressive
you one of these guys?
of rubber. That wasn't me. God, I'm going. How did they do this?
How do they do
pretty
this? Right?
Amazing stretch of rubber. I think it's in the
that
town
kind of
part
thing.
right before Georgia, or
Yeah, it's all
near the line?
up there, it's all up and down.
Yeah,
You notice that?
I like to. Yeah, I noticed that too, and I'd wonder what the cost of new tires are.
Sure, you think, right?
I
Tires
mean, I
are
don't.
not cheap.
I don't have that kind of
$100
money. Yeah, I don't have that kind of
Tires
money.
are good, 100, 125 bucks.
But I was down at Bayside, sitting out on the deck on Saturday, and the people I happened to be sitting with, we got into the noise conversation, and almost on cue, I wasn't even motorcycles. There was two cars within probably 5 or 10 minutes of each other, pulled up to the stop sign by Bayside, revved their engines, and then got on it to cross that intersection. And you've got people at the creamy stand, you got people in the park. I mean, it's the last thing people want to. And it happened twice within 10 minutes.
Wow.
I would just comment that the bay was active as anything. The traffic, the creamy stand, get the boat, get the marina in place. I think
the park, more stuff
a
going
park
on in
and
the
the,
park.
and the
They
farmers
were at
market.
that stop sign. They had to tear away from that
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
sign.
yeah. They were in a rush to get through. They wanted to beat the traffic
Right.
through the bay.
Well,
But
the
it-
cream, that's a great point. It's so busy. I'm down there just about every day. The creamy stand, talk about long lines of people.
Yeah.
What about, I know you gave some attention to the parking issue. Any thoughts? I mean, it's a tough situation down there.
No, we
So
haven't
you
made
wish
any.
people would
A lot of it.
park in
I don't
the
want to
park.
put it
The
off
park's,
on the state.
It's all of it like about a 2-minute nice walk on your nice walkway.
And we have a lot of parking space right there.
Sure.
So yeah,
People
you
seem
can drive
to-
right in, and I don't. People won't walk those
Sure.
50, 100 yards, or whatever it is.
That's a
Yeah. And now we have the walking path in too, which makes it easier for them.
Did a
So they
great
don't have
job.
to
The
walk on
walking
the road.
path is great.
and you've signaled the crosswalk.
No.
No, I'm not signaled, but I mean,
But they've
it's
marked
painted, and
it,
you have the
marked it.
ball,
Yeah,
you
it's
have the
some-
bollards
no,
there.
Right.
Can you get one of those blinking? Boy, can you get one of those blinking signals there?
Suggest that. I'd like to see these blinking,
Yeah,
certainly a
Pedestrian
blinking
signs.
signal there.
yeah. Because
The-
I think
what do they
most
call
people
them?
are mindful of that, but obviously X number of people, whatever.
Yeah,
But that's a busy place
right.
down there, and
Yeah.
it's going to get busier. And we mentioned again the farmers market in the park now every Wednesday.
I like what Chuck did with that sidewalk connecting
Yes.
the marina
No,
over.
there is some more sidewalk there.
Yeah, sidewalk connecting the marina over towards it. It's not. I don't think
right
it's
here at the
totally
top,
done, but
yeah.
over towards the Bay Store and the restaurant. And I just think not that we've had a lot of days, but as soon as we get those weekend 80-degree days, I think the Bay is just. And it was on Saturday. It was very busy on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was great to see.
And again, Bay Day not far away. Again, Saturday, June 30, with the
Right.
rain date the next day, Sunday, July 1. Not far. And again, I guess starting with last year, the great race is now on Bay Day. Used to be back-to-back days, right? Great race Saturday, Bay Day Sunday. Now it's all on the same
day, yeah.
Hopefully better weather this year than last year. But no, there's a lot going on down there. Tim, any more streetscapes? Seems like I was hearing Kingman Street might get some street.
Kingman won't be done this year.
Not this year.
No.
Is that possibly next year, or is that
Possibly
a plan for next
yeah.
year?
Yeah, they're looking for
Yeah.
additional grant dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in the planning stages for next year.
Yeah.
I believe Federal is going to be paved.
Huh.
They're going to mill it and then pave it. I think July, August timeframe.
Of course, North Main Street going on as we
North Main
speak, and
Street.
that should be done pretty soon.
I've shared a number of times. I think they've done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
They had a rough start down on the south end of town by the industrial park. There was, the first day they started, there was cars waiting 15, 20 minutes to
Wow.
get in and out of the
Wow.
industrial park, but they took care of that quickly.
Yeah.
I had a few complaints, so we had called the state, and they sort of put the word out.
Yeah.
But since then, I think it's been not nearly as dirty as the old milling used to be. I think I think the equipment's changed significantly.
Yeah, North Main Street seems to be going reasonably well.
yeah.
I'm not too far from there. I always
pave-
look forward to being
paving
able
at
to
night.
drive in my driveway, but
Yeah.
so far I've managed it. But it looks like it's going pretty well.
Yep. So those are in that whole region where you and I are, the sidewalks on Upper Farrar, on Farrar, all of Farrar,
Yeah.
Upper Newton, they're almost done the Rubley Street sidewalk now.
So that made me think the curbing's going in pretty much where the new sidewalks are going in. In part is that, I know the city was concerned, maybe still is, about the green, people parking in greenways. Yeah. Was that aimed at least lessening that, or is that just, irrelevant to that issue? It just seems like with curbs, you're going to have a little more trouble if you're just parking on the city right away.
There's no parking in the greenways.
Okay, so is that an official ordinance and has been for a while?
So they've timed it. Those properties that had them, there was a couple on Messenger Street.
Yeah.
They were waiting until this rehab went through with the curbs and the sidewalk. Okay. And they've had discussions, those landowners have had discussions, and so they've been addressed and they've gone away.
So that is official city policy, no parking on greenways.
Yeah, there's, not to get political, but there's a couple exceptions because of prior administrations had given waivers.
Oh, is that right?
We've had to accept those, but as soon as the house sells again, the agreement is that it goes away. So there's a few things that we had to live by.
Get our number, folks, 528-5315. Love to hear from you if you feel so inspired to call us, 528-5315. Bill, we got some paving going on, I assume, in the town, some resurfacing in the town this summer?
Plenty of it.
Yeah.
We just announced Monday night that they're not going to do the industrial park this year. There's some concerns, and the timing isn't going to work out. Sidewalks going in. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So instead, we're going to pave Hathaway Point Road from one end to the other.
Oh, really?
So
the summer?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So we do. This will be just about 5 miles, 4.5 to 5 miles. We do this every year.
Yeah.
So we always try to keep ahead of it. So we're doing roughly 10% of our roads every year.
We talked about the town hall and public works garage issue. Another issue that voters rejected when they rejected, or maybe a different time, but the walkway, the rec path walkway from Saytech to Collins Purley. And then there was talk about trying to cross the interstate access road, whatever they call the road from exit 19 down to South Main Street.
The access road,
Is that issue getting some attention still?
They're working on that. That's this whole rec path they're talking about, and they haven't gone to costing things out yet. But the last time I saw when they look at going across the state access road, they were looking at two options then. One was tunneling under the road. The other was putting a walkway over it. I mean, the cost was absolutely astronomical.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I don't know precisely what they're talking about now in terms of where they're going to put sidewalks, or want to put sidewalks on either side of that road, where they would cross it, safety issues. So that's very much being addressed right now. They're having ongoing meetings with that one.
Yeah. Tim, you're certainly a big supporter. I think you've been on the board of Hardack Aldous Hill Playground. I know that terrain means a lot to you. It does to me. I live pretty near it. But again, the merger has the Hardack St. Albans City merger, if I'm using the right word, is that officially gone through? Am I using the right word when I say merger with that, or the city basically?
Merger collaboration.
Yeah.
Documents were signed because we as Aldous Hill had a little play in that in terms of if you look at the Hardack ski area, the agreement that Aldous Hill had with Hardack, because we lease Hardack the land, was that if the ski area fails to operate for at least a 2-year period, then it reverts back to Aldous Hill.
Oh, really?
So that was part of the whole town Hardack. It came into play with the town Hardack discussion, so we had to sign off on that, and that happened 3 weeks ago, probably. Yeah, probably about 3 weeks ago.
So that is a done deal, pretty much. Huh?
Yeah.
Will there be any visible changes? I know there's certainly plans for. I keep hearing rumblings about the possibility of some folks would love to see a second skating rink, hockey rink.
That is under discussion. There's a group called the Epicenter. They meet monthly to look at the possibilities of that.
What are your thoughts on that? You certainly have a background with stuff like that.
I think and all my kids play hockey just to to be up front. I play hockey. I still play hockey.
Good for you.
And I think numbers have been hurt both in adult and youth, just because
Just lower numbers.
Lower numbers because of the times that you know, the men's. When I was with the rec department, we had 12 men's teams playing, and slowly we lost them due to the fact that people got tired of playing at 10:30 at night.
Is that right?
They only get up in the morning.
The only time available.
Only time available. And even now, the kids, the St. Albans Skating Association is losing a number of kids to what you call these elite. That's what they call them, elite. But they're teams that you know, give you a little more ice time, more travel, more games supposedly, and that's what some parents are shooting for. So what part of that push is that they feel their child's not getting enough ice time in St. Albans or enough focus. You know, every parent think their child is going to be the next John LeClaire, so they're working hard to make sure that happens. So that's, you know, that lack of ice time. You know, sometimes my kids had one practice a week. You know, and maybe a game or two on the weekend. SASA does a great job. They try to get as many kids at least 2 ice times over 2 practices. Doesn't always work out because you're competing with BFA hockey and Comet hockey, and so I think there is a long answer to your question, Richard.
Okay.
I think there is a need for another rink. You know, there's 350 kids involved without the high school kids.
Really?
So I think there's a need. How that's done, I'm not really sure, but I think it's, in a lot of ways, I look at it as some increasing economic activity also. You know, when there's a hockey tournament in town, the Hampton Inn or the hotel by the interstate, La Quinta. I mean, they're always full. What does that do for restaurants downtown and out at the shopping center? So I think it's something that we need to take a serious look at.
On the other end, I do hear some concerns. Some of the folks associated with Collins Pearly just concerned a second rink that it would just hurt Collins Pearly a lot. Do you not buy that so much, or is that? I mean, that's a concern I hear on the other end of that story. Just if there were a second rink, the Collins Pearly would take a financial beating.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think most people, if you talk to them, would prefer that that SASA and Collins Pearly can work together and potentially even have something on site. So you have 2 on site. You've got the infrastructure. I think that's what a lot of people would like to see if it could pulled off. And then Hardak is another alternative.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens as it plays out. Both city and town are on fiscal years, correct? And ending June 30?
Yeah.
We got about less than a month to go. Financially, fiscally, Bill's the town in pretty good shape as you get close to the end of fiscal year.
We're in rather good shape.
2018.
We normally are, so there's no exception this year.
Tim, what about the city?
Same. The city, if it's not completed, it'll be completed soon. The TIF program was being audited. It's a 3-year, every 3 years it gets audited from the state's auditor's office. It's not, we're not being audited because there was an issue. It's just that it's part of the program.
Just an ongoing audit.
It's an ongoing every 3 years. I haven't seen the report on that. I'm not even sure what the actual dates were that they were going to be on site, but in conversation with Dominic, he felt that we were in pretty good shape. That we're probably ahead of schedule when it comes to the TIF program and the bonds and paying the bonds off.
Of course, Mylan having a lot to do with kind of fueling the tax increment fund and the co-op.
The co-op. There's St. Albans House. You know, the hotel, the state office building. There's so many that really make a difference.
Speaking of the co-op, you've talked about it before. Again, the co-op in its 100th year of operation, and I know, although has there been some, events, I don't know, things happening? Do you kind of celebrate that, or is stuff planned?
No, actually, ironically, we just had a meeting today. Marty Nihan and I met with Kirsten Bourgeois and Leon Berthium. there's a number of things being thrown around. The one that is actually moving forward that people might see in the paper today or this week is that I've initiated a photo contest where the theme would be agricultural. We would hope to get, our hope is to get maybe 75 to 100 photos in. We vote on them, and then we will, we'll blow them up to a 20 by 30 and put them in the park for display for a 1 month period.
Excellent. Let me come back. We're just going to grab a call. I'll come back to that. Thanks, caller. Go ahead. You're on St. Albans Today.
Good evening, gentlemen. I thought I had to call in tonight.
Hey, I think I recognize that voice. You did.
Hey, Tim, I didn't hear anything about that telephone being put in the council room. What's going on?
The old telephone issue.
Didn't I tell you that last time, David?
Yeah, I think
the wiring was not done correctly, which doesn't allow for the live, which I don't totally understand because the town can do it.
Well, we're having troubles at the moment.
Oh, really?
Let me, just give me a piece of paper, Richard.
Absolutely.
I will ask the question again and make sure I respond officially to you.
That sounds good. You can call me. I've known you for a long time. I'm not bashful about your decision.
Yeah, I was told it's a wiring thing, but let me confirm that.
Well, for 3.8 million, you should have got your money's worth.
So we want to know why there's no live cable access.
No live cable, no live telephone.
Oh, but
Yeah, telephone inside the
The telephone for use for these folks here.
for people that are taxpayers that want to call in.
okay.
David, anything else for these folks?
Yeah, I'm glad to see the select board finally come to their senses and decided to build the town garage up on the Brigham Road. That's where it should have been in 10 years ago, but the previous plan that we had was a Cadillac of all Cadillacs, and I think the select board has done due diligence in reference to getting this where it's under control and not having a Taj Mahal. So I'm going to support it, and anybody that I know to tell them that we need to get off the lake. And one of the suggestions came from a previous select board person, Bill, in reference to the old garage. Why don't you talk with the state in reference to maybe having the state build our new garage and our new salt shed by giving them the property at the old garage, and they could use that for a boat access down the bay. What's your idea, feeling about that?
We haven't really come to any. I think it would be nice if the state would, fund a new facility, but I think the likelihood of that is fairly low. To be honest with you. Now,
it'd be worth checking out.
Oh, it'll be worth. I agree with you there. We can do that. And one of the questions we haven't really focused too much on is what do we do with that site? Clearly one could be to have a boat access there. And you'd have to look at all the problems and opportunities that surround that. Could we convert it to some other recreation use? Could it be used for some other commercial or residential use? And we have to find out the state of that land and see what has to be done to remediate. So these are all open issues, and nothing is closed. But the idea of suggesting to the state they may want to join us and take a boat access is worth pursuing.
Yeah, it'd be worth just to talk to them, see if they would do it. You never know. I mean, they want us to take over the Lake Road from Walden Street down to Black Bridge, but, they don't want to give us anything for it.
True.
So, maybe they want a wheel and deal. Remember when we sold the swamp for $1 and we bought the Bay Park? That was the best deal we ever did. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, but I'd be happy if they would drain the swamp so we could use it. But I'll let the folks in Washington worry about their swamp, and then we'll look at our swamp later, right?
I see the city of St. Albans is implementing that stormwater MS4 starting in September as far as charging the utility tax. Is that true, Tim? I watched the city council meeting the other night.
Yes, it is true, Dave. I thought the date was July 1, actually. But it is a per parcel fee. Any parcel below an acre is charged one fee, I believe, and then above that is charged a per acre fee.
And I understand they're going to put that in their water and sewer bill.
Yes, you're right.
Is that true?
It will show up on your water bill, I do believe.
Yeah. And Bill, in reference to that, when are we going to see about that utility tax, or whether we want to put it in the budget? The budget will never pass if you put it in there. What are we looking at doing that utility tax?
Well, first of all, we haven't really serious thought about whether we're going to have a stormwater utility or whether we're going to do it on a per part, regular taxes based on impervious area. These are all open questions. And at the end of the day, we're all going to have to pay for this somehow. Fortunately, in the short term, the expenditures are relatively low, and we're able to manage them in the general budget. But as we go out to the next phase, this stage 2, which is 4 or 5 years down the road, we will probably start looking at more and more expensive investment requirements. And
because sooner or later, every town and every city in the state of Vermont is going to be forced into doing this.
Oh, no question, no question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for answering my question. I want to see a telephone in that council room, too. Bye.
Thanks, David. Again, a few minutes left. Again, 528-5315. Kind of cut you off there, Tim. So again, a photo contest?
Yeah, photo contest, reception at City Hall, blow up the photos so people can vote on their favorites. We'll blow up we hope to have 15 finalists to blow up and stage them in the park for a month or so, let people see it. They're all based on Franklin County agriculture. It's pretty wide open theme, so it could be anything from landscapes to cows to barns to goats. So we'll blow them up. Hopefully there'll be an attraction as people drive through town. They can stop in, check that out. Long term, we would when we take them down, we would auction them off to help benefit the downtown association or the Arts Council. So that's one. There's we're still having a discussion. We're going to do some research on a antique tractor parade. We met on that to talk about that. The city will be putting banners up downtown just commemorating the 100th anniversary, and there's a few other things that have been discussed.
That's good. So, speaking of the co-op and Leon Berthium, Leon was on hand for the nice reception Friday night at the St. Albans Museum for their nice new exhibit on Franklin County's agricultural heritage.
So just to that point, the Chamber's having a mixer on July 19th, where people will be able to view, they can view it anytime now, but at the mixer, we're going to move the photos that we have to the museum and give a second opportunity for people to vote on them and see what the level of talent is when it comes to photography in the region. Yeah, the museum just, in fact, I'm very busy there. I think it's kids' night tonight at the museum. I forgot about pretty busy night. My kid actually volunteers there Fridays, doing a good job, and all the volunteers. But it's, I think the museum with Alex and company, they seem to be taking kind of a higher profile and stuff and becoming more active, but it's a great resource. Yeah, we worked with, we being the STEM Challenge Initiative, worked with Alex on 4 Friday nights of science camps. Wow, that's great. And we had 25 kids attend each night at the museum. It was a great location and it worked out well. So they are expanding their outreach. Any movement, again, talk last year surfaced of possible merger between the city and town fire departments, and that seems to have quieted down. Is there Bill, any movement on that at all?
Nothing lately.
Really? Do you think the issue has kind of gone away? It seemed like there was a fair amount of support for it early on. Is there?
Yeah, it just seemed to die on the vine.
Is that right?
Stage,
yeah. I think the main reason for that, Richard, is because
your work, the departments are doing just fine as it is.
Well, no, it's not public yet, but the city and town are merging.
Right. Yeah. So make everything move.
Yeah. So,
right.
But you're not hearing much.
We're going to wait till October to say that, right?
You're not hearing much on fire department merger activity.
We talked about last time we were here that they work well together. They train together. We had the fire in St. Albans on Brainerd Street back in October, March, I guess it was, or April. And, the the collaboration and the coordination, it's working well. I don't know, I'll say that I'm new, but I haven't heard of any issues between the two. Like I said, they work well together.
So it just may be a case that people just don't see it as being necessary, possibly?
It doesn't seem to be an issue.
Yeah.
So
it's not high on the priority list, I know, at the city anyway.
Yeah.
Tim, you've been mayor for 3 months now. You feel like, especially the more you get into it, you feel like you're mayor's, is it, I'm sure Councilor Kate Lattison was at her yesterday for our ribbon cutting. I asked her how you were doing, and she said, yeah, Tim's getting there. I'm kind of kidding. I'm sure Kate's very happy with your performance, but I asked her about that. But you feel you're getting used to being mayor at this point?
Getting used to it. They tend to forget me sometimes. About one example I had was we had some old vacancies on a couple boards, and so we had prepared questions, and so we brought the individuals up, and I said to them, okay, we'll open up for questions. And I looked at the council, and they all looked at me, and they said, you're supposed to ask the questions. I said, oh, well, no one told me that piece. And Dom said, oh, I forgot about that. But so minor stuff like that. But I am feeling more comfortable. I just talked to Bill about a contact that I had about a mutual friend that we have that we're trying to address some issues. So it's, I think back to Alan Robtoy's, done in August.
Boy, that's not too far away.
And that's going to be a
In
void.
fact, feel free, as I'll mention it later on. Our next show, August 1st, might be nice to have Alan join you on the set if you're both available.
Alan's a problem solver.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not be just a long messenger in some of the issues that have come up with the sidewalks. I mean, Alan goes out of his way to make things work and make sure people are happy.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a big loss for us.
So that's definite. I know he was looking to retire
it
a
was.
while back and stayed longer, but August looks pretty definite. No more.
When I came on board, I thought it was November, but it's
Is that
October,
right?
it's August. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but to that point, I like being able to help if people have issues, and trying to find those resources and help them out. So I think it's going well.
Down to our last minute and a half or so. Bill, you've been...
Just one comment.
Yeah.
I can't pass by today.
Yeah.
This is D-Day, the 74th
that's a great
anniversary
point.
of the invasion
Wow.
of Normandy. And
That's a very good point.
So.
Another sadness for me was one of my favorite politicians. This was when I was graduating from high school, Bobby Kennedy. We lost Bobby today too, but D-Day, that's a great thing to bring up. Yeah.
I'd mentioned earlier, I had not realized for whatever reason that Bobby Kennedy's body was transported by train from New York to Washington.
There was a
DC.
National Geographic channel had a nice show last night or 2 nights ago, and ending with kind of the train journey.
And the impact that train had along
Just of
along
course,
the route.
tons of people along the
Yeah.
train route and stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was not aware of that.
But no, thanks for mentioning D-Day. That's a great thing to bring up. Yeah, my father was a World War II veteran. He didn't do D-Day. He was in Anzio in Italy. Didn't sound like a best place to be.
No fun
but
either.
Thank you, Dad, for surviving, or wouldn't be looking at me, but anyway. Thanks, appreciate the time. Bill Nihan, the St. Albans Town Select Board
Pleasure.
Chairman, Tim Smith, the Mayor of St. Albans. Thanks, folks, for the time. We'll take July off and hope to see you on the set August 1st.
Sounds good.
Anyway, thanks to my man Zach back there for doing all the hard work around here. Thank you, Zach. And again, folks watching us, we've got a live sports show on our other channel coming up in a half hour. Feel free to jump into that. But thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for the one call we got. Hopefully a lot of viewers out there, and we'll see you in August. So long. Richard Cowperthwait signing off for Northwest Access TV. See ya.